So just another one of the other sort of things that we're also working on as well, and I can't show you that because we're still working on it, is we're building an extension to the portal, and it's going to be in the form of a social networking kind of space, which is sort of like Facebook and Bebo and those sorts of things. And it's going to be, you're going to be able to put up your own videos, your own audios, organise your own groups, have your own message boards and all those other sorts of things that you do on networks like Facebook and Bebo. So that's another thing that we're working on at this particular point in time, and that'll give users who are familiar with that sort of technology to build up your own little networks and to use that particular platform to organise their work. One of the other sort of initiatives that the IITF is working on is this project called .indigi, and I'll just give you some quick background on what that campaign is about. So Indigenous people have a long history of collaboration and connection with each other, and we believe that the global Indigenous community should be identified and enhanced by having its own sponsored GTLD. Now, a GTLD stands for a generic top-level domain name, and a top-level domain name is the last part of an internet domain name. For example, everybody's heard of .com, .edu, .mil, and .org. They're among the first ones that we set up. And over the last 5 or so years, there've been new ones that have been invented. For example, .aero, .biz, .museum is out there, .info, and .mobi as well. In June last year, ICANN, the organisation which runs the controlling of those names, have decided to open up the top-level domain name game. So we saw this as an opportunity to have an Indigenous-owned space on the internet, and that's going to be .indigi. A lot of the other organisations that are really pushing for this top-level domain name, organisations like Google and Microsoft as well, because for example, Microsoft could have the top-level domain name .Microsoft, or New York, for example, could have the top-level domain name of .NYC, or Google, for example, have the top-level domain name of .Google. The only difference between Microsoft, Google, and cities like New York is that they've got a lot of money and we haven't. So one of the things that we want to do is sort of lobby ICANN and kind of bring them back to the sort of things that we talked about at the World Summit on the Information Society, and sort of pointing out to them that, in particular in Article 15, it points to the real special situation of Indigenous peoples, particularly when you look at the financial barrier, which initially came out in June 2008. But one of the price tags that they had put out before to establish a top-level domain name was in the vicinity of over $100 US. Some people say $200 US. So by forming a partnership to create this organisation, we're looking at trying to find a way where we can have our own top-level domain name, and at the moment it's called .indigi, and trying to get it without having to pay as much money as Microsoft and Google, basically. And the way that it would support Indigenous peoples is, at the second level, what we would do is formulate policies and stuff so that different Indigenous peoples could control their own second level domain name. For example, you might have .mohawk.indigi, which can be controlled by a Mohawk organisation who decides who does and who doesn't have access to that particular domain name. So that's how the second level domain name works. We've got more detail here, and we've actually got a petition online that you can sign, but I've got a paper. I've got good old-fashioned low technology paper and pen petition as well. So I'm going to pass this around. At the moment it's in English, Spanish, and Russian. So for people that want to sign on to this petition, put your name, email address, whether you're Indigenous or not, your people, nation or tribe and organisation on the back here. We'll then sign you up onto our petition. Partnerships, so as I was saying, we keep the portal rolling by having different partnerships with different people. Of course, one of those partnerships is funding partnerships, so if people have got funding they want to send their way, just let us know. But also there are other ways of moving things forward. For example, content provider partnerships. So really interested in talking to organisations and people who have skills and want to provide content for the portal. We're also looking at forming partnerships with people who have want to do things in ICT capacity for Indigenous people. One of the things that we realise when we're dealing with mobile phones is that the things that Indigenous peoples usually use with mobile phones is SMS, text messaging, and then just ordinary talking on the phone. And the other sort of technology that Indigenous people are using is community radios. So we want to find a way that we can link SMS and text messaging and also community radios as well. So forming partnerships to make those initiatives happen. We're currently formalising an advertising policy for the portal as well, just so we can get some revenue and some of the stuff rolling on. So if you want to advertise on the portal, let us know as well. And just the last thing we've got is an evaluation survey as well, just to get feedback on the portal and things that people are thinking about, and whether people got any ideas of where we can extend the portal as well. So I'll pass. I think you're over there somewhere. Yep. So kia ora. It's probably a lot of information. So any questions?